I've lived across the country running clinics on the other side of the country because I had systems in place and I didn't have to be there. And the quality of care was excellent, the outcomes were excellent, the patients were very happy, the clinics were making money, and I didn't have to be there on a day-to-day basis. How did I do that? I had to go through the pain of learning how to write a system. So you may think, oh my gosh, I can't do that. That's too much work to put that system in place. And you're right, unless you have a system to put the system in place, which we do. Because when we started opening up our own clinics, we had to do it relatively quickly. When you're opening a clinic, that's a very, very expensive time to be involved in having a clinic because there's no income coming in, everything's just going out. So we had to do it very expeditiously and get it to happen quick. So we created systems to help that process go faster. So we help people by putting systems in. Some people say, oh, I'm too old to do that, I can't do that. Well, here's why that's a problem. If you want to exit with something valuable, you're not going to do it unless you have systems. Because a bank, when they assess the value of your business, they're going to look and see how much money do you collect per employee, and then how many systems do you have in place, how many managers do you have in place, what is your management program, do you have an employee manual, what is your training program, how do you train your employees, how do you onboard them, and how do you retrain them as time goes on, because you need to do that. And all these big companies have that. When you have those things in place, and there's a lot of other parameters I'm not touching on, but you have those things in place pretty much so the business can run itself, then the bank goes, well, that's valuable, because if he leaves, that business can run itself. Another investor can buy it and generate income from it and maybe take it to a higher level. Now you're going to have a higher value of that business. Here's how they value the business. They come up with a number based on the maximum profit you pull in, not what you declare in your taxes, because they know your accountant's going to write stuff off. They're going to look and see what is the income that was in excess of expenses that they brought in for the last 3 years in a row. And let's say that number, just for ease of math, $1 million. Okay, he brought in $1 million profit. If you say that's not possible in a medical clinic, then do 100,000, but we'll say $1 million. So if it was $1 million, the bank would say, okay, so that's his EBITDA number. What is the multiplier? The multiplier is what you multiply that number by to get the value of the business. For example, if you have systems in place and you're collecting $500,000 per employee, so you have 10 employees, you do the math on that, that's how much you're collecting. The bank's going to go, well, they have systems in place, they have an onboarding process, they have training, they have managers that are trained in place, they have all these different things, and they're profitable. This business, we're going to give a multiplier of 10. So now that $1 million profit turns into a $10 million sale. So here's the problem. A personality-driven business that doesn't have any of those things, which is usually a doctor's office, chiropractic, the number I heard for the multiplier is 0.7. If they were making $1 million, they could sell it for $700,000. And you would go, well, wait a minute, if I hold on to it, I'm going to make $1 million. Why would I sell it for $700,000? We got to realize the bank's saying, you are the reason that you're bringing in that $1 million and you're leaving. So why would we fund it as much as you're going to bring in if you're there? It's not going to happen. It might even be lower than 0.7. So if you want an exit strategy, you got to have systems in place. You got to have ways that other people can do their job. Plus, having these systems in place, people can do their job. You don't get hit with every little problem that comes down the pike because you have people in place that are solving the problems. Having good systems and good training processes, you got the 1/3 who's engaged, the 1/3 who's not engaged becomes engaged because you're showing them what to do. Now you have a 66% chance your employees are going to be able to flourish at their job. And if they flourish at their job, you're going to flourish as the business owner. So if you want to understand this more, that's what we do. We help people figure out how to put systems into their practice so at the end, when they want an exit strategy, there is one. All too often we've heard stories of people say, you know, I tried to sell it and the bank wouldn't fund it, and I tried to sell it to the guy and he couldn't get the money, so I just walked away from the practice. What a crime. Spend 30 or 40 years building a practice they have to walk away from because you never put any systems in place. Spend a year or two putting systems in place, maybe even less, maybe 6 months. It might be the most valuable thing you do your entire career. If you work with somebody who has good systems that have been proven, like ours, we can help you do that. That's what we do.